Are we ready?
Yep.
Victor? Okay. It's Tuesday, April 22nd, 4:36, and this is the second scheduled permissive tax license issue hearing. Please rise for the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Riddell,
Here.
Commissioner Moore,
Here.
Commissioner Gallagher.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. First ones we'd like to hear from are Bob or Sean, whichever one, whoever had the short straw.
Bob Kleiber, 247 Hadaway Street, Lorain, with the Lorain County Engineer's Office. What we'd like to do is similar to what we did last week. For those who were not in attendance, Sean will give a brief presentation about what this is all about, how we got to where we're at, and then obviously we'll be here to answer any questions. So.
To answer the short straw question, here I am. Thank you, commissioners, for having us here today again. I did modify slightly the presentation to try to address some things that came up last meeting. So we'll get underway. So obviously we're here to talk about the vehicle registration permissive fee. What exactly is that? That's a $5 fee that we are requesting the commissioners enact that would go in place on vehicle registrations throughout the county. Per the Ohio Revised Code, we can use these fees to plan, construct, maintain roadways, bridges, and streets throughout the county. Who can enact them? There are fees that are available to the county, to municipalities, and to townships. Some overlap, some don't. It does get quite confusing. Which are the ones we are requesting that you guys enact 450424 here today. Not today, I apologize, in the future, hopefully near future, as that is one of the ones that is available to us. So again, the proposed enactment is 450424. That fee, 100% of it that is collected on registrations throughout the county would come directly to the county engineer's office. I know Commissioner Moore wanted me to make that clarification last week. Cities do not have the abilities to enact this particular fee. There are 3 that we overlap with the cities on. They do not have the ability to do that on this one. So we would be collecting $5 from everyone in the county, including anyone who lives in a city, village, or township. How will we use the fee? We will use this fee on capital improvement projects. The planning of the projects, construction of the projects, we want to use it on roads and bridges that are in need of repair, that have been, for the better part, neglected because of current funding constraints. So that's what we would be using these funds on. So we would, I think for those that were here that were at the last meeting as well, as Bob said without his mic on, the goal would be to use it on roads that don't have other funding opportunities, whether that be federal funding in conjunction with federal funding as a local match, or in conjunction with OPWC money as a local match there as well. Why is this being considered? Why are we here today? Is basically because of a deficit. This slide shows what our projected costs are over the next 4 years on projects that are currently planned. Over here on the left, you'll see the deficit that we have for the next 4 years, at least projected. So anywhere up to, in 2028, potentially $1.1 million of deficit. If we would enact, or not we, if the commissioners choose to enact this fee, we would be bringing in a little over $1.3 million with the $5 permissive fee that we're requesting. With that additional money, we would be able to do additional projects, not only meet this gap, but be able to address some of the roads that are in poor condition, same with some of our bridges. And again, how did we get here? This was also discussed a little last week. We've seen a very large increase in construction costs. Commissioner Rodelli, I think you can attest to that. Just labor, construction ever since COVID, right? It has just shot up dramatically. Same thing with maintenance. We pay more now for a snowplow than we did back in 1980. Things have just gone up, right? And then we have been very successful with federal aid applications. So we do have a lot of federal aid money that we need to make local match on, which is a good thing because those projects are large projects. We're getting, several millions of dollars potentially for those projects, money that we don't have to spend to do those larger projects just with using local money. But again, the local money is where we need to have to match to make sure we receive those dollars. How does Lorain County compare across the state? We are the 9th largest by population county in Ohio. I think a lot of people actually don't know that. When I tell people that, I think they think they're just kind of surprised by that because it's fairly rural, right? But we do have a lot of large cities. Of the top 10 populated counties in the state, we are the only one that does not have a fee currently enacted for permissive fees. 7, I believe, of the top 10 populated counties have all 4. As you can see here on the slide, the other 2, not including us, have at least 3 of them. So I think what this does show is that we've been able to successfully maintain our roads and our bridges with the money that we've had, right? We've been able to work within our budget. Right now, we're at a position to where we don't believe we're going to be able to do that any longer due to costs going up. So we are requesting the enactment to be able to close that gap. One of the new slides I put on here was just kind of some of the questions that were discussed last week. We had first one, I don't believe that gentleman's in the audience here, but is there a limit that we can, that residents can cap at? Currently, there's a BMV fact sheet out there. I went ahead and posted the link. Per that fact sheet, you can pay, if you're a resident, up to 6 of these fees. We're not requesting enactment of 6. Let me make that clear. We're requesting 1, right? So if you pay 4, you can pay an additional 1. You could actually pay an additional 2. Again, we're only requesting the enactment of 1. What exactly will these be used for? Kind of drove that home a little earlier, but we're really looking at projects. We are not going to be using this money, and we can't, per resolution. We are not going to be using this money on salaries, on anything like that. It's strictly for projects, planning, and construction of projects. So this does end up being a true user fee, right? People that are driving vehicles on the roadways are paying for the roadways. How many fees do Lorain County residents currently pay for? It really does vary by municipality and township. Next slide will kind of cover that. I do show what exactly what permissives are paid around the county. And what happens if this does not get enacted? We could potentially have to delay infrastructure projects, potential closing of bridges. We obviously would do our best with the money that we have, right? But at some point there will be projects that suffer or go delayed until we can make up that gap. And here is the last slide. This is actually credit our business administrator, Maggie, who's sitting behind me. She found this through the BMV fact sheet link that I had posted on the last slide. These are the permissives that everybody currently pays in Lorain County. Again, none of this money that is collected through permissive fees in Lorain County currently comes to Lorain County at this point. These municipalities or townships enacted these fees and collect these fees on their residents when they register their vehicles, and they use that money for the same thing we're requesting to do, right? We're requesting the money on infrastructure. They saw a need for it, which cause them to enact it. It's what we're currently asking for you guys today.
Yeah, I
Um,
think our assistant got it in 2 minutes off the internet. How long did it take? It was pretty easy to find this data, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. The question I have in regards to that data, what you're requesting is capital projects only. How do we know that these fees that these other communities are paying aren't going just to salaries within their own cities? How do we know they're not the 4524, was it 04?
So
I mean, do we know that when you pull up that data on the far?
I don't
Lower.
believe we would know that unless we looked at each resolution. Because I believe the resolution has the detailed language, I
Yeah.
think.
So even though these other
Mr.
communities have these taxes, we don't know if it's paying for their own community salaries, we don't know.
It is per the RC, it's got to go towards the roadways, right, or towards the infrastructure. I think if we go back
No,
a
but the
couple
one that you're
slides-
asking us is capital projects only, not for salaries of the engineers.
We've worded it that way in the resolution to make sure that
Right,
everyone knows that's what we're doing.
but we don't know what the other communities are paying, if that's, okay, that's all.
No, like I said, it was at the suggestion of Mr. Armbruster that we made it specific in the resolution that would only go toward capital improvements.
Oh,
and-
no, I know what we're doing, I'm just wondering what
But
the other communities.
if the other city or the cities or townships did not do that, then as Sean pointed out, it would go towards whether it would go to the salary of their road administrator or projects.
Okay.
It could be used, as long as it was for roadways.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I was pretty much bringing it home anyways. The only thing I did not mention, which was discussed last week, were trailers. We did send over some draft language to Teresa and to Lee regarding the exemption of trailers. There is a Ohio Revised Code section that does allow us to do that for non-commercial trailers weighing 1,000 pounds or less. So we did include that. That seems to be the only exemption that we're able to actually put into the resolution for the RC.
I think the idea there seems to be that they don't contribute much to the wear and tear of the roads.
I would agree with that.
Furthermore,
With that, yeah, please ask any questions that you have, and I thank you
Well,
for
I'd like
listening.
you to stay there, Sean, as
Wasn't that, that's the same
my
thing you
assistant
just-
saw the same book you did, but I want to show this, for the benefit of, because there were a few questions asked last week, what do others do? So we, on this sheet, we have the same table that Sean just showed us, and you can see Medina County above that. And you can see that they're almost fully funded at $25 in every entity in Medina County. And then secondly, just to see what our neighbors are doing, this is what Erie County and Huron County are doing. Okay, and some of the reason I think that they have less permissive fee tax is that they do pretty well on the gas tax. Because every county gets 1/88th of the gas tax, no matter what your population is or how many roads you have. And so the gas tax is it's necessary for us, but Erie County with their system, they get the same amount of gas tax we get. So
That's
they may not need to be as dependent on the permissive tax as we are.
it's 18 cents a gallon.
Yeah, but the problem is you got Huron counties with their 60,000 people, we have 322,000, and they get the same dollar amount that we get.
And then to your
Actually, the
que-
disparity really shows up when you get the rural counties with a
Yep.
population of 14,000, say. Countywide, they have a population of 14,000, they get the same gas tax we do.
Yeah.
Yes, with obviously a comparable number of vehicles compared to us, right? So,
The question, just for the sake of clarification, the slow-moving vehicle triangles don't get taxed, correct?
If those do not have a vehicle registration,
Right.
then no, they would not pay this fee.
okay, thank you. And then I also wanted to post, it came up in conversation, Sean provided it to me. Unfortunately, I didn't get back to him to ask him to put it in his presentation, but Victor, if you could show that, what's under there we go. There are 4 taxes. This tells where the first 2 go. And then Teresa, there's a second sheet there that tells where the third goes, what it goes for, and then the fourth one would be the one that we would enact, that we're considering enacting. So there are different uses for those for those 4 fees, and also some townships have it, some don't. But they've had a year since this conversation started, so if they wanted to enact some, some more fees, they've had the opportunity to do that.
And the other thing, Commissioner, if you were to enact this section of the revised code, it would not impact the townships or the cities if they wanted to enact another fee. This one is strictly available only to the counties.
Thank you. I was trying to lay that up for you. Okay, so I just thought that additional information, having gone through the first hearing, might give people a little bit bigger picture, what our neighboring counties do and why, and then where the 4 taxes actually go to, so.
Yep. And I'd like to also, I was complimenting Neil Lynch, trustee Neil Lynch at our last meeting. I see you're here today, so as we went out to the township associations, there was a lot of input to help us guide us through this over the past 12 months. So to get to where we're at today really started last year when we discussed it and we didn't put it up for a vote. Now, and I'd like to thank Neil for all the work that he did, kind of helping me out to get to make sure that it is a fair county tax for all. So
Yeah, Neil's been great to
Yeah.
work with, and I know Bob and he talked quite a bit
Yep.
about it.
so I just thought I'd give a shout out since he's here today. So he wasn't here last week. So
Thank you, Sean.
All right, thank you.
thanks. Thank you, sir.
At this juncture, it's our desire to see if there's anyone in the audience that would like to either comment or ask questions concerning the tax while we have, both representatives of the engineers department here.
I don't
Well,
think anybody.
there's 2 people that, this gentleman here and Neil, so they just come up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We don't
Well,
have
to
a.
the
Did you want to speak, ask a question?
Come on up.
Yeah, it's a public hearing, so you have to go up to microphone and.
State your name and address.
Name and address and.
Jim Malik, 572 Fieldstone Drive, Amherst Township, Hidden Valley. I didn't know Neil was going to be here, and he's one of my trustees. Appreciate the work he's done. But if you want to see what a lack of funding looks like, drive down my street. And I don't expect it to be done anytime soon. I understand there's a process, but it's been 45 years since, any major rehab has been done. And then if you're concerned about putting it to a vote, it's never going to pass, in my opinion, just because folks that do live on the major thoroughfares already have their roadways addressed. Amherst Township did put it on the ballot about 15 years ago and it failed. I was sad to see that because that would give them some resources to keep up with what they need to do. So I'll turn over to Neil from my perspective, but that's kind of where I'm coming from. You really need to do what you got to do. And I know I've worked with these guys out of the county engineer's office. They're asking to get the tools they need to get the job done. And I think the money's been spent wisely and proficiently.
So Jim, would you like to share your professional career? Because I believe it adds some value to your view when you say the road is in terrible shape.
Yeah, meaning I worked for the city engineer's office for about 15 years, and I ran a roadway rehabilitation program. And very familiar with OPWC, and I got credit to township trustees for leveraging what they can through that program. So I've been in public service for 49 years. May 31st will be my last day. And so I do have an appreciation for what it takes to get the job done. And that's why I was here, just some reassurance. They did go the election route. It failed, obviously. If your road's maintained anyway, why would you vote for anything for that? And yet, I don't have a problem with that. Those are major collectors. They need addressed, but at some point, I'd like my road addressed. After 45 years, the concrete pavement is in distressed condition. Yeah. So that's all I had to say, and I do.
Yeah, but it did last 45 years.
It did, yes, it did. But
Good to see you, Jim.
it's good to see you too.
And thank you for your service. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Neil Lynch, 8132 Oberlin Road, Amherst Township. I'm surprised it shouldn't be the Amherst Township show. I didn't know that Jim was going to be here today. For all the amount of time that has gone on, I would have expected more people, particularly from the township, since I know the commissioners have come to discuss this at the township, over a year ago. And but in any case, you heard Jim talk about our township put up for a vote for a road levy, and it wasn't passed. It was disappointing, but we understood that's what the voters decided. Nobody likes an increase, whether you call it a fee or whether you call it a tax, but everybody, when it comes to roads, wants high-quality, safe roads. And they got to keep in mind that those high-quality roads, in the long run, you hope, save your money, because once they start getting real bad, particularly in the high-speed roads and some of these county roads that you're going down that are heavily traveled or high-speed, you start thinking about Middle Ridge, Pile South Amherst, West Ridge. You guys just approved for Pile South Amherst, south of our township. You approved a safety project for signalage and some minor paving on North Ridge in your prior board meeting just prior to this public hearing. And imagine if you don't maintain those roads. And the county engineer's shown come 2028, their deficit based on their projection is going to be equivalent to the amount of funding that this permissive tax would bring in. But I know you put it in perspective in terms of what other counties in size comparable to Lorain County are doing, and most of them do have a fee on. Lorain County, of the top 10, is the only one that doesn't. I want to put it in a different perspective for people to understand if you enact this fee, what it means in real cost. From the Department of Energy, 2021 was the latest I could find on the internet. I don't know why that is, because in every other statistic they got it for 2022. But for 2021, the average miles driven per vehicle in Ohio is just about 11,000 miles, and that's an average between cars and light trucks, which is the predominant volume that we see on our county roads. For now that may be low for some people, what they're used to. This isn't per driver, this is per vehicle. If you want to get in per driver, it's obviously higher than that. But the average for model year 2022 light-duty vehicles, which includes trucks, vans, and cars, is 26.4 miles. People that have an older model, it might be getting a little bit less. For your vans and trucks and whatnot, you're in that 18 to 20 mile an hour, or 18 to 20 mile per gallon range. Cars obviously are significantly higher. If you take those average number of miles and miles per gallon, you're talking about the average vehicle will use about 417 gallons a year in fuel. We all know how volatile fuel is. But how many of us, it goes up and down, a dime, a quarter, overnight, and you hear people screaming about that happening. Well, I want to take those numbers and put what a $5 permissive tax would be equate to, 0.012 cents a gallon on an average of 417 gallons a year. So people got to keep that in mind of what they're getting versus what their cost is. So if you take if we just look back in March of 2024, you know what we were paying per gallon? In Ohio, $3.35 a gallon. Today, $2.92. Fortunately, I got a membership at one of the local club wholesale, so I got $2.79.9 today. So I beat the average. Well, that's over 43.5 cents in fuel costs drop per gallon already from 2024 to 2025. Not that it might not go back up. Who knows what's going to happen with this, but I think with the current administration that we have in Washington, if anything, we're going to see fuel costs actually come down. But in savings per vehicle, with that reduction from March of 2024 to March of 2025, $180.98. So we're saving about $181 per vehicle, and I don't see anybody going, yeehaw, we saved it. So again, for benchmarking, $5 per vehicle versus $181 per vehicle. So I guess the long term is we've got to look at, we all want high-quality, safe roads. We hope that if we have that, not only is it going to reduce the amount of injury, it's going to reduce the damage to our undercarriage and suspension, and in the long run, we're not going to be in the situation where roads, effectively, it'll be just like we've got in our township. If you don't have the money, you don't do the project. And if you can only not do the project for so long, and eventually that's going to have a detrimental cost to people, whether it's in their vehicle or whether it's in their safety. So I did hear, if I understood Teresa and Sean correctly, I would actually support this permissive tax, this $5 permissive tax, but I wanted to make sure there was an exception for trailers and farm equipment. You know, you've got some of the trailers, you know, small business owners, landscapers, construction they're using every day. But the vast majority of people that own a trailer sitting in their yard, most of the time it's sitting in their yard or their driveway. And so I wouldn't want to see where they're paying that additional tax. And we know that the farmers have multiple pieces of equipment and trailers. So I hope you can have the permissive tax, if you approve it, that you give the exemption for all the farm implements and trailers. So thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
I thought the farm equipment, what happened with that?
The farm equipment, to my knowledge, like the trailers, they have the slow-moving vehicle sign, so they don't have a plate on that.
Okay.
That's
Now
why I
they-
brought it up.
Now, they may have, some, like I said, they're bigger where they're hauling grain that's on a semi, you know, that would be licensed, but any of the farm equipment, the tractors, I think Commissioner Gallagher, your triangle orange sign, small, you know, slow-moving vehicle, they don't have a license, they're not licensed.
Yeah, and I would just hope that it's any trailer, and I realize, you know, you're going to get some of them that they're using them regular, but again, we're talking the small business owner and the farmers. If you have, I don't know that the law allows you to
It
do
did
that.
It did, and that's what we, Sean had pointed out, that we sent over a revised to Teresa and to Lee Prue with the prosecutor's office. It does allow us to exempt trailers less than 1,000 pounds gross weight. So we have asked for that if the commissioners go forward.
So that's going to help people that are just have the small trailers for hauling, boat trailers. Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks.
Thanks for the financial analysis. That was fantastic.
Is there any other comments from the public?
I know I asked Teresa at the last public hearing in regards to the TB tax. Do you want to give an update on how much longer that's going to last? I thought, was it till 26?
So the last collection of the TB was a 5-year, and the last collection is 26.
So if we decide to suspend it for this year, we still would have to do it next year also?
It's already suspended,
But we have to do it annually, though. You can't,
correct,
so we haven't suspended it yet, correct?
for 25
Five.
you did.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so we need to do one more time.
You would have to do it for 26, but it expires in 26.
Right, so, but don't we,
Last collection, it would be 26.
right,
correct.
so don't we have to do one more suspension before we move forward?
Yes,
And then that would be it, unless the commissioners decide to put a renewal back on, correct?
that would be up to the Board of Commissioners to do something, and that would have to go this year as first try.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any discussion on regards to when we want to finalize or have a vote, or
Well-
what's the story? What do you guys?
I think we'll have
I
to,
have that in your cheat sheets.
yes,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Jeff, you got a
No,
cheat
that's
sheet.
okay. No, you have one too.
it's,
I didn't get one.
Yes, turn it over.
if we need to do
there it
this, it needs to be done by,
My understanding, in order for this to go into effect for beginning in January of '26, it needs to be down to Columbus in July. The exact date in July, I'm not sure, but at some point it needs to be down there for them to enact it next year.
I believe it's July 1st.
I would think so, but
okay.
I think that language is right in the statute, so.
So that means we need to act on it in May or June.
But don't we need, the prosecutor's office has to really review it?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah, well, that only takes a couple of minutes.
that's what I thought.
So sometime we'll take a look at the calendar And we'll probably make an announcement at maybe the May 6th meeting. And we'll get all the deadlines and pieces and parts in place, and we'll announce when in May that we're going to actually hold the conversation and the vote here in the public forum.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, having done that, the meeting is adjourned. The hearing is
Oh, you
adjourned.
do a
Well, no.
motion. I make a motion to close the hearing.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion. Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Gallagher.
Aye.
Commissioner Rendell.
aye. Now you know why everything in government takes so long.
I guess you guys, word, I'll do it.
Now you can adjourn.
You're the president, you gotta say adjourned.
We're adjourned.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
We're brutal.
More relaxed
You'll
we-
eventually get it all.
the more
Two
relaxed we
and a
get, the
half
more-
minutes to say good.